How's it going, YouTubers? Jeremy here at Chaos Garage. Got another quick tip for you guys. Of course, this is not going to be super quick, but it's definitely a good tech tip for you guys that are interested in doing major or simple repairs on your bumpers. As you can see right here, I have one for my own vehicle, actually, that I've been rebuilding slowly. And, this is pretty common, getting cracks and splits. And as you can see throughout the entire bumper, there's lots of damage hitting parking curbs and stuff. But this one's got a massive area that's damaged here. We might get into that on the next round or something. But anyway, so the simple process here, which honestly it really is quite simple. You just need a few things. You need paint sticks, some little basically they look like just craft sticks. This is drywall mesh. You want some clear weld professional grade epoxy, the 2-part. You need some scissors, a cheap brush. Sometimes you'll need the aluminum foil. This is just what they use on your AC gutters and stuff. You basically can use this stuff to cover up areas where you don't want to sand through. It works better than standard tape and stuff. And then a couple of the heavy duty type shop rags like this. The material's really heavy duty, so it doesn't want to just tear real simply. So in using all this stuff, the key is to basically lessen the work that you need. So in this case, as you can see, it doesn't really go together unless you have to pull it and push. So you can set it on here in different ways that will help you hold it in place. Get it on something that a workbench or something that fits underneath like this, or these are standard for painting and body working automotive parts. You could probably use a horseshoe or shoe horse stands, I think they're called. As you see, I just put a little pressure there, and it actually brings my gaps together to where they want to stay. The only thing I got to do is just give it a little pressure like that, to where if you see if it's bulging up a little bit right here, even the top is actually kind of fitting good now. So to make it simpler and easier on you as far as this repair goes, this is the most important part. You want to get this assembled correctly and as close and tight to where those gaps close up like they would be originally. The tighter those gaps are, the easier this repair will be and the more it'll look correct. So I always start from the front side, because what we use is, I've got a large one, but it doesn't really matter. You could use a small glue gun, and then I use these craft sticks and a set of cutters, and I will slowly push this together in different spots, and then I'll glue these down to the top, so that way it holds it for me. And then I'll do the major repair on the back side where you won't see it. It'll be all reinforced with all the materials I just mentioned and the epoxy on the back side. So we're going to just basically slowly work this until we get this gap just right. And I'll start from the very top edge up here and pushing and prying until I get a very nice smooth surface. And then I'll cut this guy into about 3 pieces. Now you can find these at like craft stores and stuff too, Walmart even maybe. But so all we're going to do is put a little bit of glue on both sides, and then maybe a little more. Just press that down in place. Now that dries pretty quick, so you want to pull it where you want it and just kind of hold it there. And the best part about that hot glue is it's going to stay and that's going to reinforce it. Now, even better part of this deal is when you're working with this stuff, you know, it comes off very easily. You just scrape it right off very simply. If anything, it takes off the paint that's around it that's weak already, and you got to remove it already anyway. So, all right. So as you can see, that's almost dried. So now we're just going to work this gap better again. So I'm going to apply a little bit of pressure and try to close that up. I like the way that looks. Now if you got a curve right there, you can apply a little bit right on top of it, but I'm going to put a bunch here, and then get my stick on there real quick. So there we go. I'll keep that. Now what you can do also is there are some small clamps that you can grab and squeeze this together so it can hold it while you're waiting on this to dry. But it happens pretty quick most of the time, so I'm not going to stress that. Now I'm going to push this in and see if I can help myself by jumping ahead a little bit. That way maybe it holds all this together. So let's see if we can skip ahead a bit. We'll go ahead and get some here and there again. And let's see what we can get here. All right. Now I'll just keep holding that. Now since we're at this crease here, we could add a little bit more right here also. And the same over here. And that'll help that. All right. Now do be careful with that hot glue gun. The tip is quite hot, so don't get yourself burnt. All right. See how it's actually kind of holding together now? I think we want to definitely do a couple, maybe one right in there. If you look on the edge right here, it'll push in and out. As you can see from this side, you press it and see we close that gap. So the more prep we do on this side, the better the piece will be. So, all right. Go ahead and cut up 3, even though we don't need them all right now. I will need them for other spots. All right, let's go up here to the top part. Glue. All right, quickly get that down. Hold it in place. All right, just keep holding that in position, allow that to dry. You know what, just in case, looks like all that would be fine, but you never know, sometimes they come off. I'm gonna go ahead and put these on too, so that way we know we've got extra. All right, push that in, and get that one on there too. All right, perfect. Looks good, looks good. All right. Okay, so as you can see, we're almost dry, and that seam is now formed correctly. It all looks exactly as it should, and we'll give this a couple minutes, and then we'll start on the back side. So, see you in a second.
Right.
Okay, so we have it flipped over now. And as you can see, I have roughed up the surface a little bit. All you're looking to do is just grind the inner edge here. So that way you get all of that smooth surface and dirtiness cleaned up. So you can use, a Dremel tool, just get it in there. basically just get it all roughed up so that way it has something to grab. You don't want to put it on a smooth surface because eventually it will just peel away and break. So keep it nice and clean, and try to rough up as much as you can. The idea is to reinforce what's already here. So essentially, when you get down in there and the epoxy and the materials are here, it will adhere and bond to this so much better. And if it gets bumped or hit later, it's not going to crack open again. Once we get all this covered all the way down into the socket here too, or the two pieces, you can reinforce all that with this material and it should last for a while. Okay, so now we just need to prep our towels and stuff. So when we get the glue ready, we'll be able to work it all at once, because this stuff does dry rather quickly. So I'll just cut it up into some strips for that bottom section, because we'll have to do this in two parts because the epoxy will go with the flow of gravity. So I got those three, excuse me. And so now you just get your epoxy out. It's two parts, 50-50. I use this stuff quite a bit. Alright, and little water cups, nothing special. And you just basically want to get a decent amount of solution in here. You don't have to get too crazy with it because it doesn't, we're just going to do that little bottom area first. So, and the work time on this is about 5 minutes basically. Of course it's super thick. I should have turned them over and let it come down to the bottom here. Almost empty too, so. Alright. I'm going to squeeze off a little bit in there and show you. Put the cap back on. Kind of flip it from later. Alright, so I got a little bit of that in there now. And now we'll do about the same amount on this one. Alright. So that's how much we got in there. Alright, so we'll take one of these, break it in half, and then max as our mixer. Alright, so since we're just going to work with that small area, I will take and cut these in half, because that's about all we really need, truthfully. And let's see, I need a little piece of this. Now the shop rag segment would probably be more than enough, but I like to put this in there because the rigidity and strength of it basically. So alright, let's go over here to the piece. We might need this, I don't know yet. Let's see. Such a small area. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to take and apply a little bit down in there. Get it in there. And then we'll put our mesh piece down. Now, I don't have gloves on right now, but probably would be best to actually wear gloves. Now you see I've got it overlapping on both edges here, so that way it's covering both sides. Now I'm going to take and apply a little more in there. Alright, and then we'll cover this last bit with the actual shot rag material. Try to make sure it goes all the way. All right, and now we'll scrape the bottom and get this out and try to drench that, because that's key, is getting it saturated. And you'll know some of it's still, you know, this cloth, you know, and then basically when it gets wet it'll darken. So, and just make sure that you push it down in there really good against the surface. You don't want any air bubbles or gaps. Now just add a little more. Alright. Okay, now we'll toss one more on there. Getting that in there. Now you got 5 minutes of this, so if you get some on your hands, it's not that crazy big deal. But again, it's always better to have gloves on. Just keep poking at the material, making sure it gets damp, that the epoxy actually comes through onto the actual piece. And of course, smooth it out. Alright, so we got that in there. That's all pressed and that's all firm down. Now we'll just every so often come back, if you got a new one of these, especially if you got all those on your fingers, come back and just press on it, push it into the corners and push down on it a little bit until it actually starts to harden. You can use these wood sticks underneath here sometimes, in between them, like ribs, and reinforce it that way too. Now this will all lock up in about 5 minutes, and then we'll lean the bumper up and start working this area. So we'll see you in a second when we get to that point. Oh wait. Okay, so we've got the, you know, that's already basically dried really well. And now we've got this level, so that way we can continue the process of repair. Now I have pre-cut my pieces that I'm going to use. And now we just need to mix up the actual epoxy. So I need to mix up a bit more than last time, of course. And I only have a wide brush, unfortunately, but normally I keep some like 1-inch brushes here, and I think that smaller one might work. Let's see, where did I put that? Oh, there we go. This is a 2-inch one, but ideally, instead of just trying to press it with a stick, you can blot at it, literally just kind of shoving down like that, you know, as the epoxy spreads out, and then you use this to actually continue the process. So that's helpful. And you just get the real cheap ones, because I mean after this it'll lock up and freeze up, so it's worthless. All right, so let's mix some epoxy up here. Now, as you know, they're still sitting here, so this will come out very quickly. Now remember, if you don't mix enough, it's not a big deal. You can just come back and add some more in real quick and mix it up. Just keep it tilted if yours is low like mine. So alright, go with that. Alright, so I'm going to use a full stick so we're less messy this time. So just mix that up. It's going to be basically a yellowish when you get it mixed good. Now I know that's probably not enough, but we're going to go with that for the moment. I'm just going to literally get a bunch out right immediately. And just start smearing that around on the surface. Now the stuff heats up, so over a period of time, I will get this in place first. Let's see if we can use that real quick to get it in there. Now sometimes it can lift with the brush, and now this edge right here, that will want to keep pulling up, so you gotta keep working on that. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and throw our first layer of this down. Now sometimes you'll have to put a little bit of pressure on it to help keep it in place while you move it and try to get that to soak in. Alright, let me see, I can mix some more here maybe. Alright, yeah, we're going to definitely see we're already low. Let's go ahead and mix up more. Alright. Alright. Let's get that mixed up good. Alright, so we'll smear that around a little bit. Try to give a good even coat again. Now if you want, so it doesn't drip onto the floor, you could always do this lip last, but I'll just throw down some newspaper or something as I get to that edge. So alright. Now it's lifting up, yes, of course, but as you can see, as you get it wet and more saturated, it tends to want to stay there. So again, keep using this, and as you can see, this is working actually pretty well with this. I noticed myself, which is why I left the brush alone, because it's actually, you know, pushing through really well. And then again, this is where I say you got to come back to it and just keep pushing it in place. Now don't worry about what's hanging below, because you can always grind or cut that off later. Alright, so let's get this last layer here, and that should make it really strong at this point. Alright, let's get this last part out. Alright, a little more. Now while I'm working this, what I did is I laid the cup down, because this will actually run downhill like I was saying, so I'll lay it down sideways like this so it'll all pull up in the bottom while I'm sitting here fixing and working on this area. That way you use all of it that you can. That last little bit might be what you need to continue without having to mix more. So, alright. I'll try to get this down. Now what you can do is when it keeps popping up badly like that, you got really bad edges like this, what you can do is you can take one of your clamps like you put on a chip bag or something, and you put painter's tape on the clamp side so it sticks to the clamp itself. And then you have some on the inside here too. You put some painter tape on the inside lip and then clamp that down so the painter's tape gets stuck to this material, not your actual clamp. And the painter's tape will also prevent it from, you know, coming through. So alright, so squeezing from the inside out, working it out, getting any kind of air out of there. And alright, excuse the noise, our roof's making a little bit of noise because of the temperature rises, if you hear that. Alright, so we got a little bit left here. Let's see if we can get it on this edge. Make sure it's nice and coated well, so saturated. You need it saturated. Alright, so essentially that's it. That's the repair as far as reinforcing materials and stuff. And now as far as the body work inside, you can kind of cut into that groove, but if your paint didn't get damaged, you might be lucky enough to just put it together like this and can barely see it. So that's up to you. Or you can take touch-up paint and fill that line and then wet sand it again. So this is the way to get through it, and we'll come back in a second where you can see it's all dry and solid, and we'll pull that off and give you a last look at it and we'll from there. So see you in a sec. Okay, so we've got that finished now. It is actually dried up nicely. As you can see, it's flexible. It has movement just like it would need, and that's the best part right there. Is this stuff fit? This material, by using the rag and everything inside there, gives it the ability to actually be flexible. So the easy part is quite literally you take a scraper and hang on, grab that. All right, so just get your scraper, literally. Some of it gets in there pretty good, not a big deal. Now rubbing alcohol will actually help remove the glue too, so no big deal. And all this again has to be removed well, to basically bodywork the piece. As you can see, it's just a tiny little crack in there now. And this piece right here you can grind off, so it's kind of loose, so you can cut away with some of it. Literally just take a razor knife if it didn't dry up, and as you can see, it's still kind of pliable here. So there we go. But the biggest thing to remember, if your paint's not damaged on this, you can actually get away with just putting some touch-up paint through this crack right here, lay it up inside the crack itself, and then wet sand it, and then polish it back out, and not even need to get it painted. So depending on the level of damage on your bumper will depend on actually how much work you have to do. So, but anyways, I hope that was helpful. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. We appreciate that. So have a good day.